I have had one agent who's in Florida and New York who's very excited about this, going, this is the answer. One guy in Southern California tearing it up, knowing that we have the answer. Can't wait to get more people on board.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Easy Real Estate Platform General Meeting. We've got a lot of new faces to introduce to you. We are going to start with that. I'm going to start by introducing Nick is moving into sales slowly, but we have brought in Kat Wagner. And just a little cool tidbit about Kat is that Dave, until Jeff gets his new sales team going and get it started, some of the people that have signed on to the course is because Kat is now with us. So she comes with a good name. She comes with great marketing skills. And Nick has took us to a place and he has seen the light at the end of the tunnel and he's ready. He's going to move into sales. So Kat, would you introduce yourself and let everybody know what you do?
Yeah, so I call myself a hybrid marketer. So rather than just doing SEO or just doing social media marketing or focusing on just one channel, because of my experience with startup companies where smaller teams, you have to wear a lot of hats, I've expanded to not just understand how a lot of different parts and pieces work, but how to prioritize the right channels to launch and focus on at the right time to one, grow brand awareness, two, start building a community, and three, make sure that the right messaging is not just getting out, but on a B2B level, that the professionals that we work with, they're able to convey the right thing, explain what we do to the consumers, and know how to leverage our asset, our toolkit in their own businesses. That's really it in a nutshell. And it's the perfect fit for what Easy Real Estate Offer can do for consumers through the agents. As far as experience in real estate, in 2017, a friend of mine was starting an ISA call center with another friend that I happen to know, but they didn't know that I knew the other person. So 7 years now focused on the real estate industry. I've listened to hours and hours, hundreds of hours of content from industry experts. So I've absorbed so much knowledge. And now I can put that stuff into marketing assets that we can productize for our members. So I'm always really excited to be able to transfer what I've learned in this industry to something else with a new venture.
It's awesome. She knows her stuff. She knows her real estate stuff. She's getting our stuff cleaned up. We have being not as good as we all think we are in the older thing that started the company with social media, having sites everywhere. We've had other people create sites as landing and holding pages to bring it on to websites and whatever else. So Kat is getting stuff cleaned up and doing a magnificent job. So Jeff, explain a little bit about what you're trying to achieve, where the company is heading through your sales process, and some of the things that you're bringing into the Easy Real Estate Platform.
Thanks, Robert. My role is really strategic sales management, and that brings together all of the pieces and parts that play the three primary roles of the business, which are the nurturing, lead gen, prospecting component of the business, selling and closing. We're a commercial selling organization, so bringing forward, I'll call them programmatic methodologies and repeatable processes to those three components of sales success are really my key focus here. Most of that is delivered from obviously experience. I've got 35 years from a sales management side. I come from more than 35 years of direct selling commercially, not commercial real estate, but commercial heavy industry, B2B type heavy industry. 15 of that to 20 now was managing widely distributed sales forces across the Western Hemisphere, specifically for large scale strategic or what they call service level agreements, SLAs. Technically, that comes from maybe 2/3 of my life being in the world of engineering, water chemistry process work relative to manufacturing and other types of process industries, and even some hospitality industries like a hospital, for example. And then the other third, technically speaking, has been driven by 3D technologies, reality capture, 3D measurement in space, and a wide range of applications in construction, or what they call the AEC market, architecture, engineering, construction. So having been through many of those, what's common is the practice of delivering the message to your market, being able to focus on that market, and then deliver the value that's being promised and expected is really where my focus then becomes on the back end of this, which is customer satisfaction deliverable. So solidifying value propositions and getting things down such that internally the transparency exists such that it's repeatable. We don't have to have superstars everywhere if we're all on the same page, pulling the same boat. So that's my job here at the organization. And, there's too many things to go into that we haven't in play right now, but hopefully that's well enough.
I can tell you that, that Dave and I were, and, Joe and Michelle, with Nick, we were able to take this thing to a certain level. And last October, November, started thinking, well, what the heck are we missing that we've got 400 members and maybe only 10 of them are using the site? And it became alarming to me. And, we thought we'd give agents a low price. We'd put training into the internet, that those agents would actually go into the back room and look at the trainings, look at the marketing materials, understand that everything was editable, edit it to what they wanted, put their picture on it, put their name and phone number on it. And we thought it'd just be that easy. Well, you know what? It didn't work. And part of bringing Jeff on board with this thing, he made it clear and evident. As he gets his processes moving forward, we are going to work intimately with the agents that we bring on board and help them get their first closing. And that's from A to Z. You'll see here in a few seconds what the startup plan is going to be. The other thing that I'll say about Jeff too, he has come up with something for these brokerages that are getting 100% commissions and paying, they get a transaction fee, and a lot of them have corporate fees that they got to pay outside of that. Jeff has come up with an enterprise solution that may change what they do. I was hoping Monty would be on the call today because I think that this would solve a lot of agency issues that he and the owner is going to be going through with these new lawsuits and other things that have been settled at this point. So I'm excited about it. Just calling it the enterprise package, and it'll be coming out and soon to everybody, but it is going to be a way to help save the industry.
Should be available, I would say, at the latest by Friday afternoon this week. There should be public access to point click, gain an understanding, and determine if it's something of interest, and reach out to us. That's all going to be done by Friday, Robert. It's just in the final phases of edit and some things like that.
All right. Well, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to get on to the agenda here. Zishan, just so you guys know, he is building the new Easy Real Estate Offer site. He has also built the Easy Certification site. The chat, when you have your clients go on to the Easy Certification site with a question, Zishan is answering that as much as he can. And I think everybody knows Joe. Emmy and Jessica are part of Michelle's team. They're part of the customer service team. And right now, I would, when I go into a sales situation, it doesn't matter where it is or where, the first thing I hear about is how great Michelle and her team are with answering the phones, resolving problems, doing their job up and above and beyond the call of duty. So I want to say thank you to Michelle, Emmy, and Jessica. By all means, don't think you guys go unrecognized, because you are the pulse of this company, and keep up the great work on there. So that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the agenda here. All right. So the first thing that I want to talk before we get into the NAR lawsuit. So we all know now that as of July, sellers will not be paying buyer commissions anymore. So we got our first glimpse of the buyers with this buyer. Washington always seems to be ahead of states for their MLS and for what they offer, so they came up with in January this Form 41C, knowing that the buyer's commission was going away from the sellers. So this is an actual contract. This is what we received from the agent. And I wanted everybody to take a look. For an agent, a buyer's agent to negotiate a commission, all of us think, oh, I can get 3%, I can get 2%, I can get 1%. This agent, Sarah Lewis, has been around for a long time. She's very good at what she does. And so this is the very first form that I received on this thing. And if you take a look right here, what did she negotiate? 0.5% to her buyer. So this is a real working form. This is no lie. So that if your MLS doesn't have it, they're going to have it soon, and it's going to put a lot of burden on the agents, these buyers agents. I don't know what they're going to be able to get. How many brokerages can survive with 0.5%? So we're going to go into what's going to happen in the industry and what Easy brings to the industry on this. But one of the things, this is the actual settlement. This is from NAR website. Basically what they're saying is that seller and buyer's commission will be separated, will be negotiated outside of the MLS. So in other words, your sellers now are going to say, well, I don't want to pay you 3% either. And buyers, we go through and we negotiate with the buyers. Where's the money come from? Well, right now it's coming out of the buyer's pockets. So that's all. You guys can go on to the NAR website and you can see this thing. This will be into effect mid-July 2024, which means all of your listing documents, all of your stuff is going to be changing immediately through the MLS on there. So let's talk about buyer's commissions. So as of mid-July, sellers aren't going to be paying anymore, which means the agents have to negotiate with the buyer. And then how do the agents get paid? The buyers must pay cash. So that's the first way. So if we think we're going to get 3% out of a buyer when it's coming out of their down payment, think about what does that do to them? I mean, 3% of a $500,000 home, that's $15,000. It's coming out of their down payment. It could take them out of the 20% bracket, which means what? They have PMI, payment mortgage insurance, which is an absolute waste. It may take them out of FHA because they can't come up to 3.5, so they got to go through and do a conventional, 3% conventional, and which again puts them back in the PMI. But regardless of how they do it, that buyer is paying that money and it's coming out of their cash. That cash cannot be financed into the loan.
And Robert, I'd like to add one thing real quick. Per the MLS, the seller is going to be allowed to offer seller concessions on the MLS. But I wanted to talk about that real quick because here's a big problem with that. Let's take a conventional buyer that's only doing 3% down and needs the max 3% seller concession for closing costs. If their agent's charging them, say, 2.5%, they can't go get another 3% from the seller. Conventional is maxed out at 3%. So in a sense, if they agreed to 2.5% from their agent, because their agent says, oh, this seller is giving you 3% seller concession, that just ate up any money that they would have for that seller concession. Now let's talk about real quick FHA loans. Well, you've got a 1.75 hit on closing costs. Now, granted, it's financed, but most FHA people have only that 3.5%. I've been doing loans for 27 years. Everybody that's FHA most of the time is literally fighting for that 3.5 and always needs seller concessions. So again, be careful when you're looking at stuff like that, because even though the seller can offer seller concessions to help with the cost, that literally means the buyer is actually losing that money to help them with that.
Yeah, we're going to get into that on the bottom line on that, Dave, believe it or not. So the next way is our way, and there should be no questions about the way that we end up with getting the buyer's commissions paid. Commissions added to the accepted bid price, and commission gets added to the final sales price, which means that it's going into the contract price, and those commissions are getting paid out of the contract. Ultimately, which means the buyers are able to finance that portion of the thing. So that should take out your agents are saying, my buyers aren't going to pay a buyer's premium. My buyers aren't going to do this. What is the benefit for them is we've already negotiated it with the seller beforehand that that's going to get added on to it. They don't care. So a buyer is going to have to either pay it through cash, or they can do it through us through a final sales price and actually finance that commission over to sale. So we're going to open this up for discussion in just a minute. I want to go through the seller side of this too. So seller's commissions. So now on the MLS is that you're not going to, this isn't going to be part of the listing price anymore. This is going to be a separate deal between you and the seller and how much commission the seller is going to pay. With this lawsuit that are coming out, where are we at with how much seller is going to pay? Because those sellers that don't want to pay a commission, really honestly, are any buyers really going to come look at the house without any concession from the seller for anything? How do they get buyers into their place? So we've got to be cognizant and very careful about what we do and on this negotiation. So the second thing is how many, so we just talked about, Dave just talked about using the commission as a concession. Well, doesn't that just kind of do what the lawsuit implied, that it's really coming out of their money? How long is that going to last? And how many sellers are going to want to pay a concession with all this other crap that's going through? So you've got the selling agents and buying agents have their own certain set of problems that we have the answer to. So let's go through the easy way. So the easy way is, first thing is we're 100% transparent. Commission added to the accepted bid price. Commission gets added to the final sales price, and it gets paid out of the curse, but it's only that amount that we are collecting through the buyer's premium. And you, on the listing side of it, you've got your own separate deal with the seller. All right. So one of the biggest obstacles we always come up, the easy buyers agents who don't want their buyers to pay a buyer premium of 3%. Guess what? Now through our deal, they can negotiate it. So if they want to be a hero, I want to give my buyer, we got 3% for a buyer's premium. I don't want that commission. I want to give my buyer a 1.5% towards their closing cost. Now they can be the heroes and do whatever they want. And they don't have to fight with you about, if they only want their buyers to pay 1%, what does that mean? That means that they're only going to get 1% of the commission. So all these things that we have built into gives transparency and control to the consumers out there. So now they should be able to negotiate down with the buyers, and we can just list that on the MLS. So then we're going to go through real quick, and because I want to open this up for dialogue. So talking to Joe, talking about people in the industry, talking about people think this is no big deal. We're already working on a sliding commission scale. And this is kind of what they say that they're going to do. So 1%, they'll just put the listing into the MLS. No photos, no nothing. It's just in the MLS with the owners be responsible to get the photos, give them anything that they need to do. They'll put it in the MLS and they'll send them over the contracts. Yeah. Second thing is going to be the, let's say for 2% listing and photos, 3% listing, photos, video walkthrough, whatever. 4% on the seller side, get the seller to pay the 4%, the 1% to the easy platform, open house, marketing, staging, etc. So you actually have anybody can put whatever they want into a sliding scale. The beauty of being a certified agent on the easy platform is that you have marketing ads that you can do. We are going to work with agents directly with the video walkthrough, those who will do them. Talk about open house strategies. marketing, the MLS syndicates and throws it out to a lot of sites. Easy Platform has its own little bit of syndication on top of it. Okay. So these are the things that we brought up. Now what I'd like to do is go ahead and let's go ahead and open this up to dialogue. And Joe, why don't you go first, and why don't you what are you doing out in the field with all this stuff? Did you know about the lawsuit on the July? I think I sent it out to everybody, but I'm sure everybody knows. Did you know about what the ramifications were going to be from this lawsuit, that buyers' commissions are going away as of July?
Yes.
Okay, so you want to talk about what you've got, the Easy Platform. You've been really successful using it. How are you going to use the Easy Platform to get more listings and make more money for yourself?
Well, I was just talking to a guy a little while ago, and I just think an agent in another state, and I tell everybody that I keep it simple. I use the Easy Platform to get in the door. I said, try going fishing and just casting out a hook. You have to have bait on the hook to have some success. So that's what a lot of real estate agents do, right? Up until these lawsuits, they sit at their office, or they try to wait for opportunity. So my team's trying to be more aggressive in setting up happy hour events in each city. My truck is completely wrapped. It says list your home as low as 0% commission, with a savings already to our sellers of close to $3 million. My shirts that I'm wearing on the back say list your home as low as 0% commission. And I actually talked to a guy at Publix that read my shirt the other day and said, tell me about this 0%. So I just think everybody has to stay positive. At the end of the day, in 2008, when the market tanked, I basically looked up and said, heaven's not hurting. So why am I going to worry about what's going on in the world? And that's how I feel about it now, because during the worst real estate time ever is when I was the #1 agent in Nashville, Tennessee. So I think if agents will just be creative, and when it comes to the platform, my area, 0%, don't necessarily work because we have a high inventory. The states that have a lower inventory is working great. So I've been taking a different approach. I've been telling sellers, what is your happy price? Because, have you sold a house before, Mr. Seller? Yeah, I've sold 6. Well, what are you accustomed to paying? Well, 5 or 6%. Okay. So with me, all you're going to pay is 2.5%. And we're going to advertise on 950 websites, professional photos, drone. We're going to blast it through all social media aspects out there in the United States. We door knock before open houses, saying, who do you want to be your neighbor? We love nosy neighbors because they know people that want to buy your home. So if we're doing all of that for 2.5%, then that leaves the premium much lower, because now obviously we can even adjust the commission to 1%, 1.5%, 2%, 2.5%. So it leaves the commission lower for the premium. And now that these lawsuits have been passed, I just signed on 2 people this week that I talked to a month ago. So what it's going to force people to do is think out of the box to get a unique selling proposition. And that's really what real estate's all about.
When you're selling the product now, we obviously have the answer and flexibility and transparency, everything that MLS got sued for. Are your clients more receptive? Your buyers for the certification course more receptive?
Yeah, I mean, people are starting to understand. I still think the agent has a responsibility to explain in detail. So every listing that I'm walking into, I'm letting them know that 31 or 32 states now can put 0. And as of July, there's not going to be commission into the MLS. And I'm even letting them know that there may come a day that we don't have an MLS. That a lot of these real estate companies are going to start pulling away from NAR. And so I'm like, times are changing. That's why these platform this platform is important.
And are they
because-
more receptive to that now, Joe? Because I know there was pushback a year ago saying, bull, nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to change. Are they more receptive now?
Yeah, a lot of agents are starting to realize that if they want to make money, they better change their thinking.
Yes. Thanks, Joe. Brett Parcell, what do you think this is going to do to the industry? What's this going to do to agents, and how can we help them with the easy to get certified and easy real estate offer platform?
Well, obviously this has been going on for 15, 20 years. I mean, it's been talked about. So I mean, here in the Seattle area, it's like everywhere, it's causing a concern. And, half the people are thinking, well, things won't change that fast. But it's been that long. I mean, it doesn't change until it does change. And we're about to see a major change. This has been building for a long time. So I think, I'm seeing a lot of panic and people looking for answers, and that's perfect. We just need to get our message out and, fill that gap.
Kevin Rich, are you there, Kevin?
Can you hear me?
There we go.
How you doing?
Good. So you've been in real estate for quite a while, and how do you see this platform changing agents' lives?
When I first started a few months back, not many people, I was surprised, but quite a few agents weren't really aware of the NAR in Massachusetts, the MLS lawsuit. They are now, and they're open to hearing some options. That's the way I'm presenting easy.
When you present it to them, do they understand all the flexibility that surrounds the easy platform?
That I go into that. I present it as something I will send out to them. I'll send them some information and then follow up with them. So most people, they come back to, it's an auction. It's an online auction. Like, well, not really. It may look that way, but yeah, it's a little bit of an education process here that has to go on.
Okay. Thank you. Michelle.
I do have a lot of agents who will ask me about how to work about the percentage, who's getting what commissions, and you're making the buyers pay. And it's like, well, yes. And they want to negotiate. I'm like, well, then you need to talk to the listing agent. So, but I have had one agent who's in Florida and New York who's very excited about this, going, this is the answer. One guy in Southern California tearing it up, knowing that we have the answer. Can't wait to get more people on board.
Yeah, and I was gonna say on top of Michelle and her team, and we are getting people that want to know more about the platform every day. I assume that's from Kat's stuff that she's been posting, driving them to the website. And so we are picking up momentum in that direction at a fairly quick pace on it as well. Jeff, how about you? What do you want to say in regards to the NAR lawsuit and this thing that just came down this last week?
It's pretty clear from the communications I have that everybody's afraid of losing competitive advantage. Larger houses, maybe more so not retaining performance or talent. I think that it's an unusual situation. I think it's not often that a market that's been operating in a certain way for so long has really been flipped upside down right now. And I think Joe's point was one to consider in that, most, at least half of the agents known in the United States don't do what guys like Joe do to succeed in real estate selling. So with that understanding, we start to see who has the biggest risk and liability in this. If you're an individual sales rep, perhaps you poo-poo it and think it'll never happen, it won't affect me. But if you're a brokerage house and maybe you have 10, 20, 100 affiliates, that's 100 times higher risk profile of somebody doing something they shouldn't. And the larger the organizations are in this game, the more quickly they're going to have to make choices and do something immediate. Which obviously that's where I see this fit here so well. It's not just that the market itself has changed the game, but now we're going to filter out and see who the real players are. Just like Joe said in 2008, this is a milestone time. And if it takes too much effort to convince somebody that the situational analysis is not on their side right now and they don't adapt, it definitely is going to be an adapt or die scenario. What'll be most interesting is, can sales agents using these platforms in a very simple way? Again, I think Joe pointed this out. It's about transparency. So show them what's happening. I understand it, and I've sold homes, and I guarantee you I'll sell my home using the platform the next time. So I think the message should be a tremendous one for the sellers of homes as that opportunity to get in that door and win that listing. And as you say, Robert, the negotiation fact up front, I might suggest, just the consideration, I think it's reasonable to talk commissions when we're talking about how it works with real estate agents. But when we're talking to their customers, those who are trying to sell their homes, we should insert the term fee, because that's the key, if you would, legal term here, which is, look, everybody gets paid because a service fee is paid to the platform. We become the service offering that delivers on the value, just like in the old days, we'll say MLS might have done so. So I think that's a very open communication, and that can be had with sellers of a home or buyers, and just specifically, hey, we are, there's fees charged. Everybody gets paid that has to do something. It's all fair. Don't you worry about it. What do you want to make on your house? And I'll throw in also on that comment you had there on your comment page, Robert, their bullets, that table. That's a pretty exciting way to look at it. I could see how you guys developed that table of percentages, what you could negotiate with the seller of a home in order to drive up that premium, right? I just made some notes like, well, what could you do for 5% or 6%? So for example, could 5% mean not just quote marketing, but targeted marketing outstate? So you want to move homes, you're Joe down in Florida, you're saying, I want to get some of that New York money down here and target market. Now you can charge 5% because the client, the seller of the home, like myself, might say, geez, I love it in Seattle, but I want to come down to some hotty toddy place like, Newport Beach or something. So any case, those are my comments, if that's helpful.
That's great. Yeah. But we're going to help agents from here forward with Jeff and the team. We're going to help agents from A to Z, from getting the listing to closing the listing. We're going to work with them intimately to help them achieve results. And I'm looking forward to that too. The training method that we were using in the back room simply hasn't worked. So we're going to hold their hands, babysit them, and help them become productive out into the marketplace with it. Kat, do you have anything you want to interject?
Oh, I'm so bright. So I don't know why I'm so bright now that I'm coming back in, but you guys said some big things, and my small little tidbit is this is a great competitive edge to offer when you're on a listing appointment, but I didn't think about the use case for using it as a, hey, don't just pay me 1% when that other agent's offering that they'll only take 1%. I'm a value add. Like, it's not just choose me because I can give you this tool. It's choose me, and this is why I deserve a higher commission, instead of
Amen.
engaging in a downward spiral, chasing the agents that are like, oh, well, just list with me, I'll cut my commission for you. The sliding scale really lays out the difference and exemplifies. And I think every agent should embrace this. It will exemplify what you get when you're paying a 1% agent versus not a 1%
Exactly.
agent.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, I can only really reiterate what everyone's been saying. This is a great competitive advantage. It's going to help our agents stick out in their market and show that they're going above and beyond with their service. As well as, I love that we're not only the answer for a way that will make agents feel comfortable with new ways of doing it, right? And being the answer, but we're really helping the consumer on their end, right? The seller of their home is getting a better deal. The buyer is no longer having to pay that commission. I mean, just the thought of a seller having to pay a buyer agent, someone who's negotiating against them, it just doesn't make sense. So I'm glad that's changing, and I'm really happy that we're the answer for that. A lot of people have said, it takes a little bit of time of explaining it to an agent, how it works, how we're still compliant. But when you explain it to a consumer and you tell them, hey, this is how you're going to save money, this is how it's going to better the transaction for you, they get it right away. So as long as we come from a place of reminding ourselves that the consumer is the one that's winning here, then we all win in the end.
Good input, Mike, Mick. Anything you want to say?
I always have an opinion. But yeah, when I see the MLS, there's no requirement to be with the NAR to view the MLS. Then I see like those agencies falling off. But then also the buyer commission, the lower that goes, the lower the quality of representation it goes. So now, and even to the point where there's unrepresentative buyers showing up at the seller's agent, asking them to write up the offer. And so I see that dynamic going on in the background.
Great. Emmy, anything you want to throw in?
Not that I can think of. I was just absorbing
Okay.
how everybody thinks about this.
Does this help you when you talk to agents and maybe give them some help how to make this program
Absolutely.
successful?
Absolutely. And
Great.
100%.
Jessica, anything you want to say?
No, honestly, I'm basically, like Emmy said, absorbing information. This is all still kind of new to me. So, yeah, learning about new things. And since I just do the invoices and then I'm kind of taking on more with making phone calls, answering phone calls, emailing and stuff. So, it's all still new to me, but I'm still learning a lot.
Very good. Dave?
Couldn't wait. So I can be honest with you and say change is hard, guys. Anytime something is about to explode and change, it always is difficult. But you know what is not difficult? Stuff that makes sense, stuff that's a benefit. Those are things that change doesn't affect. I'm going to give you a quick example because I would talk for an hour and a half if I had the chance. In my industry, which initially was loans, the Dodd-Frank Act came out when all the foreclosures and everything went crazy. It totally turned our business completely upside down. Literally about 70% of the loan officers in the country went and did something else. It was crazy. And I can tell you, I will not be shocked if that happens again. And the sad part to this is they're taking a situation that on the surface is not good, but it's on the surface, guys. When you look at what we offer today, it solves the problem and it makes sense. This isn't something that you've got to be a rocket scientist to figure out. Half the time, this is so simple, people don't believe it. They're like, oh, you're hiding something crazy, right? This is so simple and makes so much sense that what just happened literally should not be an issue. And we have to help make it not an issue because we have that answer to such a big problem. So what I want us, if any of you guys are thinking about this today, and when you hang up from this call, this is not a problem. This is a solution to a problem that people think that they have. And for those that want to think it, God bless. Let them do their thing. Okay? We are not going to make everybody happy. Okay? That's a fact. But what we can do is take a smart agent who's open to listening because, let's be honest, shit hit the fan, and turn them into somebody that now has the belief again, has the want again, has everything that they need to be that productive agent again without worrying about that dark cloud called the NAR. So again, I'm going to close this by saying this is not a bad thing that just happened. This is something that just happened. And people are making this a big thing when necessarily it doesn't have to be. So I'll stop there, Robert, or I'll talk for hours.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate that, the turmoil in the industry, I mean, we found out about this thing probably 2-3 hours before CNN blasted it out about the lawsuit actually going through and the settlement going through. We do have the answer, you guys. And if we don't get the message out there to people right now, you know what? There are going to be a lot of real estate agents that quit and leave the industry for no reason. We've really got to get the message out there because, you know, our mission is taking real estate back and putting it back in the agent's hands. We have the solution to do that that's transparent and absolutely represents the public, agents, brokerages better than anything out there. So I'm going to leave with that. Zishan, do you want to say anything?
No, I'm just noticing everything, just trying to hear what's going on.
All right. So anyways, I appreciate everybody being here. You know, a couple of things that you guys can do, help us. We are trying to go from A to Z with agents, from the listing appointment to the closing. And we're putting together trainings on that. We're going to need to develop new content on that. So any suggestions that you guys have, feel free to pass them on to Dave or myself. Everybody knows our email addresses. Joe, appreciate you being on the call. Anyways, anything else we want to say in closing? Nope. All right, everybody. Oh, Kat, you want to
I've
say
got
something?
one thing. Yep. So I've got one thing. One thing I want to add is, you know, you're saying we want to save the attrition, the inevitable attrition from people panicking and flooding out of the real estate industry. But at the same time, that translates to consumer benefits too, right? So now with all this commission, you can't say what commission you're charging on the MLS. That adds new communication barriers. That means transactions go slower. That means some agents might not want to schedule a listing, which means the consumer is missing out on an opportunity for someone to come see their house or for a buyer to go tour a house that might be the one for them, right? All of that extra layer could add, you know, kind of an obstacle that might not be surmountable for the consumer. So that's another aspect too. It was the last thing that you were saying. I wanted to tack that on. That, and guys, if you are on Facebook, I know not everybody uses it, but if you follow our consumer facing, I'm going to call it our consumer facing Facebook page, we're going to post engaging questions there, scenarios that buyers might be dealing with, scenarios that sellers might be dealing with. If you happen to see it, you don't have to go out of your way, but if you're scrolling while you're waiting for your coffee to brew, and you could just leave a comment sharing your insight, your advice. So if we really build a huge bubble around what the consumers will see, they'll flood to the platform and more agents will want to come to you and ask, hey, you're using this. Can you tell me more about it? Because I want to use it too, because I see this buyer, this seller, they're using it. In a year, people should know Easy Real Estate Offer just like they might know Zillow. That's what we should really be doing. And we don't charge people for leads. We don't charge to send people leads once they're an agent. They get leads right now for free from us. So
there we go. It's a good place to end it. Thanks, everybody. I will be sending out the broadcast out to everybody when it closes, along with the slides that we have. And again, please feel free to interject and help us become better than who we are. Thanks, everybody.